I remember asking God after that, why did you let me do Dancing with the Stars? Like, why do you want me to have a platform? What am I supposed to do with this platform? Who did you call me to be? Who did you create me to be? And just the Lord speaking to me words at the time that reminded me of who I was as a kid. Like when I was 5 years old and I was preaching on the countertop to my parents, like reminded me of moments like that. Or like, I remember the Lord saying to me, you're a sister and a friend to those who don't have one. And like, just words that were speaking straight to something that I actually was confident in, like who he created me to be. And now I look back and like, that's still what I'm doing. I'm still a sister and a friend to those who don't have one. Still just preaching because that's the overflow of the Lord and like what he's done in my life.
Aloha, everyone. We are pumped for today's episode. We have Sadie Robertson. Well, actually, now she's Sadie Robertson Huff, and she's a mother of 2 and 1 on the way. You might know her from her family being on Duck Dynasty, and we're going to dive into talking about Dancing with the Stars. And she has Whoa, That's Good podcasts, and she's just up to a lot of amazing, rad things. And so let's dive on into this conversation. Welcome, Sadie. We are so glad to have you. And I wanted to start by saying congratulations, welcoming a new baby somewhat soon. And as parents of 4, I just think the more the merrier. It gets easier as it goes. I think partially because you get better, but congrats. We're so excited for you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Well, y'all are a good inspiration for us. I agree. It's just getting better and better, and we're so thankful. This will be our 3rd, and I'm halfway. So it's crazy. It feels like it's going by faster this time than the last 2. Maybe just because the first one, you're like thinking every single day, like, is it the next week yet? And so we're cruising along.
Did you say halfway, like as in there's 6 you're planning on? Or
oh,
halfway
no. Wow. Christian would be listening to this like, what did she just say? Halfway through this pregnancy. But hey, who knows? If the Lord wills it, then 6 it will be. But that might not be our plan.
Everybody keeps asking us too, like, how many? And we're like, oh, man, we'll see. It's a lot.
It's hard to say. You got to take it one at a time.
Yeah, 100%.
Right. It definitely gets overwhelming, like when you think of it, especially when you're pregnant. You're like, I don't know.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm. I feel that at the early stage of this one. I told Christian, this might be our last one, when I was like throwing up every single day. And now I'm like, forget what I said in the first trimester. I feel great,
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, it's true. Some people, like, just if you have a really tough pregnancy, it's hard to even think beyond that moment. But I will say the reason why it's going way faster is also because you're caring for 2 littles plus everything else you got going on. So it's like you don't have too much time to think about, the pregnancy, I guess.
Well, with Honey, we were pregnant during the pandemic. So it was like I had nothing going on. I'm just waiting around these 9 months. And so, this is definitely different. Having 2 little ones, I'm chasing around and doing all the other things. So we're super grateful. We cannot wait to see this next baby. And it's just such a blessing.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Well, I kind of wanted to nerd out on, you did Dancing with the Stars, and Adam and I do ballroom dancing for fun.
You secretly have always wanted to be on Dancing with the Stars.
I've always wanted to be on Dancing with the Stars, but now that I'm
married... Why have you not been on Dancing with the Stars is the real question.
I never got the invite.
If there was a couple version, that'd be cool.
I wouldn't do it now that I'm married because I only wanted to dance with you, hun.
I like that.
So I'm like, Dancing with the Stars, let's do couples edition. And I think that would be super fun.
Carlos and Alexa did that. Do you know them? Carlos and Alexa Pinavega.
No.
They were a married couple on Dancing with the Stars. I'm putting in the word. I'm going to slide in the word for y'all.
All right,
Y'all need to be on Dancing with the Stars.
We have a lot of work to go,
that's
but
gonna be a
we're not.
commitment.
Yeah.
But
We could
imagine
do it.
how good we would get at dancing, hun, and how fun that would be.
Amazing. It'd be amazing.
What was that like for you?
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, first of all, like context, I was 17, like freshly 17. I did my interview when I was 16. So I actually wish I could do it now as a much more like confident version of myself than at 17. I loved it. I had the best experience, but it was hard. It was very hard.
Yeah.
And I don't just mean physically, because physically it's very hard, but I was 17, so I could hang. But like just the emotional, like mental aspect of it, being like thrown into the public eye at such a large level and being judged every single week, not just by like the 3 judges, but by like all of America. For an insecure 17-year-old, that was kind of a lot to go through. But as far as like experience overall, 10 out of 10. Like I tell everybody, I'm like, you should do it. I would do it again. I hope I get to do it again. I'm like always thinking, because our family has a new show coming up, and I'm like, okay, if y'all aren't going to do an all-star season, then like who in my family can go on the show? Like I love the whole culture. All of the dancers still to this day are like good friends of mine. Christian and I actually just went this season to the show, and it was like crazy. He couldn't believe how everyone in the ballroom knew me. Like the makeup artist was the same, the hair person, they even like fixed me up for the show, the body artist, the security guard came up to me. He was like, how are you so old? Like hugged me, and he was like, this is truly like a family, because I always tell him that. But it's hard to imagine like a big Hollywood show feeling like that. But they do such a great job. The casting agent has remained like such a sweet friend of mine. She like texted me when I got pregnant, told me congratulations, and like it's just a very sweet environment. So I am always all for telling people how amazing Dancing with the Stars was and is, but I wish I could do it at a better state of my life than 17 years old.
Wait, do you and Christian, like, are you like take those skills and dance together a little bit here and there?
Let me tell
I see
you.
What's
you
his
guys
vibe?
doing TikTok
Yeah?
dances.
Yes. Let me
Which
tell
is
you
very different,
something.
but-
I don't know, Adam, if you were like all into doing the ballroom dances with Bethany, but I don't know how she got you to do that or if you recommended it. But Christian is not into that. Like his mom actually just said, hey, next time y'all are here, let's do a ballroom class, because me and her like love to dance. And her husband, Christian's dad, and Christian like hate to dance. They're like, why would you even recommend that? Like, we're not doing that. I'm like, yes, let's do it. Christian is not a dancer, but I always have him do like TikTok dances with me or reels with me, and people love it because he is hilarious. But to be completely honest, he really has no rhythm. Like I would not recommend Christian to go on Dance with the Stars as the family member we are nominating.
You can learn. Like honestly, like I did not want to go do ballroom dancing, and I can relate to Christian on that because it's stressful. I mean, because like you have to be the leader, but then as we were taking our lessons and stuff, like I surprised Bethany on our 5th year anniversary, and I was like, hey, we're gonna go on a dress up because we're going on a little picnic date. But then we rolled up to a private dance class, and we did. Had our first ballroom dance lesson.
I was ball crying.
she was
Like
like,
I couldn't even hold it together going into the studio because I was so happy and
like,
excited.
That is so
surprised.
cute. I love that so much.
But
That's so sweet.
when you're dancing together and learning, like you, as a man, you have to take leadership, and it's a beautiful. It's like a beautiful lesson. I feel like because she learns to follow, the guy learns to lead, and you're having this like moment on the dance floor, and like where I'm focused so much where like everything else kind of fades away type of thing.
Yeah.
And you're just
Actually,
focusing on
that's so
each other.
true.
I do
That's so
think
true.
I do think if you have a really good instructor, anyone can learn, because the basics, like the very beginning steps, are so basic that anyone could truly learn it. For example, if I go to line dancing with my friends, I feel like I'm the worst out of my friends. But but I can do ballroom dancing, because I had a good instructor teach me. So, Christian, we're going to send you this little
Come on,
snippet from
Christian.
the podcast.
Yeah, he's going to be.
We meant to have Christian on today, but anyway, next time. But I will say, like, I think with the right teacher, the fact that he can do like whatever you guys do, like, I don't know how to
TikTok dance. Yeah.
I don't know if he can do it or we just do it. So that's up to. But no, it really would be really fun. I agree with what you're saying. It's actually such good life lessons too. I felt like it taught me a lot about trusting in God and leaning on Him because Mark, my partner, was so good, and obviously he's a professional ballroom dancer, and I didn't really know how to dance. I didn't know how to dance. I'd never ballroom danced before, and the way he would lead by like the gentlest like push or tug or pull, and it would like actually spin me into doing the right thing. And so many times during our routine, I would be like, how am I doing this? Like, I don't even know how I'm doing this right now because I wasn't thinking I would be that good, but he was making me look really good. And I think about that with your faith, it's like leaning not on your own understanding, but like in all your ways, acknowledging Him. He will make your path straight. Like, God obviously knows the plan for your life so much more than you do. And you have to kind of just trust those nudges and those little leans and pulls. And you look at yourself and you're like, how did I get through that? Like, how did I do that? And then you realize like you were being led. So like, I feel like ballroom dance taught me so much when it comes to life and God and leaning on Him, and same for marriage. So I'm with y'all. I need to get Christian to go to do some ballroom dancing, and all couples should sign up for that.
Yeah,
I really think
encourage
that
all couples, like, it's great for the marriage, great for the relationship.
I actually think they should bring it back into high schools, even like teaching like that to our young people would be so cool. And not cool, sorry, that's the worst word I could think of. I think it would just instill this respect for young men towards young women that maybe is being lost in today's culture.
Yep.
And it just kind of takes you out of your comfort zone. You feel a little uncomfortable, and I think putting yourself in an uncomfortable place is healthy at times, to challenge yourself in ways that feel outside of the box. And anyway, I don't know.
True.
I'm a dreamer, and I'm like, can public schools do this with our young students?
That's good. We need a classier way to dance back into the schools. I agree.
That made me think, you said you were really insecure as a 17-year-old. I would love for you to just share a little bit of like, if you could speak into your little self and encourage her and all our young women out there listening. What would you say to encourage that young girl struggling in her insecurity?
That's so good. Yeah, I think what I feel like hindsight 2020, right? When I look back at that time, I just really didn't know who I was, And I think when you don't know who you are, you're subject to the voices of what everyone else says that you are, who you're supposed to be or should be. And it's interesting because before going on the show, I would have thought, oh, I know who I am. I mean, I was a Christian. I was a believer. I'd led Bible studies even in high school on confidence, and I wouldn't have thought that was going to hit me the way that it did. But just the opinion of man can be so strong. And I realized then just how impossible it is to please people and all people. Like you're really, how they say like you can please some of the people some of the time, and but it's like you can never please all the people all the time. And it's really true. Week 1 of the show comes out and everyone was like, whoa, like who is this girl? She's so good and she's such a little light. And I got like all this good feedback. My dance was good. I like portrayed myself well as far as like shared my faith, and everyone was like, she's such a light. And then week 2, I did a dance that was like a country dance, and it was jazz. It was like really kind of like you get down in it. And the Christians went crazy, like, so inappropriate. She's losing her mind. She's going to end up like every other Hollywood young Christian. Mm-hmm. And then it was like, I had people telling me that their dads were saying, like, they can't, like, read my stuff anymore or watch my, like, just, like, a version of being canceled. You know, it was like a small scale, but it was like, what? Like, did I just ruin it? Like, did I just ruin everything I've done, or like my testimony? And like, there's so much confusion. And then I'm like so embarrassed to go out for week 3 because what is everybody thinking about me from week 2? Like, just that mental battle. And then we did this sweet dance, and everyone's like, oh, she's back to good. And so somewhere along the way, I realized, like, I cannot ride these waves of, like, people's opinion and just, like live in that constant state. Like, I gotta, like, find some firm foundation, like, be confident in who I am. And I don't know, it was a messy journey to that. Like, I don't think I found that during the show or during the season. But when I look back at it, I'm like, that was such a pivotal time in my life in discovering who I was. It led me to some really hard prayers and some like, God, who do you say that I am? I remember asking God after that, why did you let me do Dancing with the Stars? Like, why do you want me to have a platform? What am I supposed to do with this platform? Who did you call me to be? Who did you create me to be? And just the Lord speaking to me words at the time that reminded me of who I was as a kid. Like when I was 5 years old and I was preaching on the countertop to my parents, like reminded me of moments like that. Or like, I remember the Lord saying to me, you're a sister and a friend to those who don't have one. And like just words that were speaking straight to something that I actually was confident in, like who he created me to be. And now I look back and like, that's still what I'm doing. I'm still a sister and a friend to those who don't have one. Still just preaching because that's the overflow of the Lord and like what he's done in my life. So all that to say, a very long story to say, I think if you try to ride the wave and let people like tell you who you are, you will constantly be confused. You will, mold and shift and imitate to whatever the world. But what does Romans 12 say? Like, do not be conformed to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind. Then you'll be able to test and approve God's will for your life. I think when you get to that place in your life where you just actually have to ask God, like, who do you say I am? What is my life for? What is my purpose for? And you get that direction, man, you can be so much more solid. And I really think I got that at 18. I remember at 18 just having that clear vision of who I was and what I was going to do. Now, does that mean I haven't been insecure in the past, 10 years? Of course not. There are moments, but I go back to truth, and not wander in the opinions of man. So that's a long-winded answer of kind of walking that journey out.
No, I love that. And I think, if you are struggling in your identity, to look to God's word, and like the Bible is a love book to us, and it's also a calling on our life. When you look into God's word, a lot of what he calls us to, as far as like Adam and I like using this analogy, we might have stole it from our pastor, but you're walking this straight and narrow path, but there's like a prickly fence or a prickly hedge on either side of you, and as soon as you start to veer, you get like poked by the thorns, and then you recorrect, and then you veer the other way and you're getting poked again. And it's like God's word calls us to that safe place and a place of security and hope and rest and joy. And yet we're still kind of sometimes veering off into the thorns. I think no matter what season of life you're in, like you're gonna veer off at times,
so
but God's always like kind of grabbing our hand and pulling us back in between the thorn hedge and, calling us to his word, his hope, his joy, that he has overcome sin and death on our behalf, and that he is the one that makes us whole and pure and clean again continually. And it's just this continual refinement. And so, yeah, I think that's really amazing, though. That's so sweet that you have the idea. I want to dive a little more into, you said, I'm a friend to those who don't have one. Like, did that start in your childhood, or when did that come into your heart and mind for your life?
It's good. So I've always been like such a family person. My siblings are like some of my best friends. My cousins were my best friends. Felt really comfortable at home, and I always felt more shy in public, especially growing up. I don't really feel that way anymore. Obviously, I've had to come out of my shell, but back in the day, like, I would be really shy in public, really shy at school, like never talk at school or anything like that. People thought I was like super quiet. But then at home, I would have like this big personality and love to entertain, love to be funny, love to just like have fun with my siblings or invite friends over. Like I love my best friends. I love my people, but I really only felt that confident at home for some reason. Like I just didn't feel that way outside of home. And even like to Dancing with the Stars at 16, when I did that interview at Dancing with the Stars, it's such a miracle that I was even on the show, because it was like the worst interview ever. I went to the interview with my mom, and every question they asked me, I would just like look at her. They'd be like, so like, what do you love to do? I'd be like, my mom would be like, Sadie, what do you love to do? I'd be like, Mom, like, can you answer? Like, I was just so shy. Yeah. And I actually didn't get on the show at first. And then like a couple months later, they said, hey, we actually reevaluated and we want you on. So I only had a week notice to get to LA. Wow. Like it was so crazy. I was actually a week behind everyone else. But all that to say, like I actually really was shy. People don't believe that because of what I do now. But that just wasn't my personality in public spaces. So after the show, after this, okay, God, what are you calling me to do? And I was actually frustrated. I was like, why did you put me in this position of fame if it was going to, and this is a 17-year-old speaking, ruin my life? I'm like, I have no friends. Like all my friends at school that I had been friends with since like pre-K were all of a sudden like, didn't want anything to do with me. And of course, like you don't see it at, like I can see now, okay, there's probably some jealousy, there's probably just some insecurity going on. Like obviously I had this big thing happen in my life, but I'm like, I haven't changed. But of course it felt crazy to like a sophomore, junior in high school. So I lose my friends. I hated going to school, which was something I used to like to do. I had no direction for what was going to come after school. Like I didn't really want to go to college because at this point, everyone knew who I was. So I was taking pictures everywhere. I just felt like I wasn't known by people, and I didn't have those friendships or the things that like I loved anymore. And so I just was like, God, why did you make me famous if this was going to be the outcome of it? And that's whenever I remember the Lord speaking. And when I say the Lord spoke, I didn't hear him audibly. And there have not been too many times in my life that I've heard something so clear in my heart. But I really felt the Lord say to me, I'm not calling you to be famous. I'm calling you to be a sister and a friend to those who don't have one. And why that meant so much to me is because I was like, that's something I know. Like that's something I can do. Like I don't know how to be famous because I don't know how to have that public personality or whatever that is. But what I do know is I know how to be a friend, know how to be a sister, and those are things that like were my favorite things to be in life. That's where I felt the most confident, the most comfortable. So I felt God give me this vision of like, you having a lot of people who know who you are is actually giving you an opportunity to be a friend to them who might not have a friend, or be a sister to them who might not have a sister. And it's interesting that ministry, and I wouldn't have like called it a ministry, like now it's like LO and we do the whole Live Original thing. It wasn't like necessarily a ministry, but it was the ministry on my heart. Like this is what I'm going to do. And it's interesting. It came at a place when I didn't have a lot of friends. And God's like, you be the friend to those who also are in your shoes, who feel like, I don't have friends. I want community. I want someone to like talk about these things I'm going with. He's like, you do it. And so I kind of started doing that through social media and YouTube and stuff. And that was kind of the start of the path I guess I am on now.
You know that Bethany and I are incredibly intentional about how we approach our lives, from the content we consume all the way to the foods we eat.
When we started researching the food industry, it got us fired up to seek responsible, clean, and sustainable food sources.
Did you know that over 85% of the grass-fed beef in stores is imported and is labeled as product of the USA since it's packaged here? The truth is, much of the meat on the grocery store shelves is filled with things you don't want. Antibiotics, hormones, questionable origins, and even harmful seed oils.
That's why we choose GoodRanchers.com, the brand that stands for American quality and integrity.
At Good Ranchers, they do things the right way. All their meat is born, raised, and harvested in the USA.
When you buy from Good Ranchers, you're not just getting better meat, you're standing with American farmers, ranchers, and families who have been feeding this country for generations.
Good Ranchers products are free from hidden additives. There are no antibiotics ever, and no added hormones, and no seed oils. Just one simple ingredient you can read, and that's meat. But the best part, Good Ranchers delivers straight to your door. No more last-minute grocery store runs, long lines, or wondering if you're getting the best quality.
Can we just say, too, their chicken nuggets are incredible. So just high-quality American meat shipped directly to you. As long as you're located in the lower 48, are you ready to get the quality your family deserves? Right now, you can subscribe to any Good Ranchers box and get $40 off your first order when you use my code Bethany at checkout. That's goodranchers.com, and by using my code Bethany, you'll get $40 off your first box of America's best meat. So let's be intentional about our life and be intentional about what we put in our body. Let's go to goodranchers.com today. Hey everyone, did you know we have a private community to empower families?
We know life is full of challenges and cultural norms can be leading us everywhere but the right path.
Families are stretched thin, teens are struggling, and staying anchored in faith can be really tough.
That's why we created something transformative, an online community designed to strengthen families, deepen relationships, question cultural lies, and encourage you to grow together in your faith.
Live shows with Adam and I, expert interviews, Bible studies, and fun family challenges, giveaways, and even brand new podcasts that you're listening to. We're here to equip you with the tools to thrive.
Our community will also be the first invited to our in-person epic family surf events that we will create memories that will last forever.
Join us on this journey. When you sign up for an annual membership, you will get free access to our top life courses, and you are automatically entered for a chance to win a trip to 4-3 to Kauai.
Awesome. So gather your family and join us for deeper connection and faith-filled fun in your home. Click the link to learn more, and we'll see you inside. As you were telling your story, just how similar, like Bethany's story, like coming up in a community, so to say, of like being in that culture of like everyone knows you and that kind of famous culture, I guess. It's so difficult, and people can kind of misunderstand that too. You're talking about how people can be very like scrutinize you and like you almost got to develop this hard shell sometimes, and that's not a good thing because we need to be able to let people in and be empathetic and hear what people say. But I think some people might misunderstand. They think like, oh, you guys have such a big platform that you've been blessed with to be able to like share a beautiful message. But at the same time, like everybody has that platform in their own community, in their own family, and their friends that they're interacting with. Just to really be intentional, not only with our own lives, but like also being intentional with, don't think like the grass is greener on the other side type of thing.
Yeah. I mean, for me, being well known from when I was 13 was really hard to face. And especially as a teenager, I was more shy, but I was really confident in surfing and the ocean and with my close friends. Like, I recognize now that I have a very like more naturally confident personality, but when the fame spotlight hit me, I was not confident. Like, I remember my first speaking event where I was in front of a lot of people. I gave like one-word answers,
That was me.
and was very like really shy. But I would say to anyone listening, you can overcome shyness. Like, you can, by putting yourself out there and being willing to try. Like, I really believe that shy isn't just is what it is. I think you can overcome that through time. And I'm not saying you have to be the loud and boisterous one in the group, but I really believe that sometimes we let things build up in our head, or maybe something happens when we're younger that makes us kind of more reserved. But I just wanted to encourage some of our younger listeners, if you're struggling with like, you know, being in groups, and just know that you have something to give. And, you know, when we're brave and willing to put ourselves out there, sometimes like beautiful blessings or like special things will come because of that bravery. And so, yeah, I was
It's
just
so
thinking,
true.
like, I'm so glad that I was willing to continue speaking, even though I didn't
Yes.
like it at first, because fast forward now, I really love it. And I like being able to encourage and speak hope and encouragement and life and the love of God to others. And imagine if my 14, 15-year-old self had just been like, no, I'm not doing it.
Oh, I
It
think about
might.
that all the time. Yeah, no, I'm the exact same way. My first speaking event, and this is a true story. I got asked to speak it for 25 minutes. I literally only spoke for 5 minutes. Totally panicked, like did not know what else to say, and I was like, okay, like that's the end. And then I walked off, and the people literally asked for their money back. It was horrible. They were like, well, she didn't really do what she was supposed to do. I was like 15. My mom's like, yeah, no worries, like take it back. So my mom didn't tell
Oh,
me that for
yeah.
years, but I knew it was bad and I didn't like it. And I'm like, if I
Yeah.
would have just stopped there and been like, oh, I'm so bad at this, or I'm too shy or whatever, then man, like I would not be where I'm at now. And I do think, because you mentioned like I knew what I was confident in, but I wasn't confident in this area. And I think knowing what you're confident in is really important, because that once you really become confident in what God has given you to do or given you to say, or especially His Word, when you're confident in His Word, then you get much more confident to share His Word. You know, the more I dove into Scripture and fell in love with what it was and who He was, then I wasn't shy to talk about that. You know, I felt super confident talking about that. And I mean, you think about it in the Bible, like when Jesus calls Peter, he's talking to a fisherman, and he says like, come with me and I will make you a fisher of men. And I love that he speaks to the thing Peter would be confident in. He's like, if you're a fisher, okay, let me take that and teach you how to do that with purpose. And I think God does that in all of our lives. Like for me, like, you know how to be a sister and a friend. Come with me and do that for all these people. You know, what do you feel confident in? What do you love to do? What are you passionate about? Now let's put purpose behind it. And man, it's beautiful how He invites us into His story, but also gets into ours too and makes it personal, you know.
I love that. Well, I wanted to say, you know, one of the greatest thieves of confidence, joy, peace, direction today, I believe, is social media. And I saw, was it a couple years back, you had taken a year off of social media, right?
Yes, it
Can
was
you
the
share
year.
like why you did that? What spurred that on? And then what was that like? How did that change you? How did you feel like 6 months in? And then also dive in at the end, like what was it like getting back on social media?
Yes, going back in. Okay, so back in the day, let me think when it would have been. Before I had even started speaking, it was like I was still kind of known from Dancing with Stars and other things that I had done, Duck Dynasty, different things, and had kind of even starting to think maybe I'll do acting, and then that didn't really pan out. But I was like in that zone of like, what really am I doing? And I got on this speaking tour called Winter Jam. It was actually a music tour called Winter Jam, and they asked me to do like a little Q&A during it, kind of about Duck Dynasty. And first couple nights did the Q&A, was great. Then started feeling like this conviction, like I'm supposed to like share from my heart. So anyways, I ended up sharing from my heart, and they say, hey, like that was really good. That really resonated with people. Can you do that the next few nights? So I did this at Winter Jam. Well, one night, Louie and Shelly Giglio were there, who pastor Passion City Church in Atlanta, and they put on Passion Conference, and they see me speak for like 10 minutes, and they're like, wow, like God has really done something in your life. Like I believe He's going to use your voice to speak to this generation. And that was like so mind blowing to me. I was like, wow, like I hadn't heard somebody speak something like that so directly over me in that position. And they said, hey, will you come speak at our church? We do these college nights, and it starts in May. And so this was like February when they asked me. May was when it was going to happen. And I said yes because I didn't want fear to rule, but also I'd never preached before, never done like 45-minute message, like was kind of feeling very overwhelmed. So that was the first time I deleted social media, was between those like 3 months, because I just was like, I don't need any distraction. I need to like figure out what I'm even going to say at this thing. Like, this is so crazy. I've never done anything like this. And I just felt like the weightiness of this invitation to speak into college students when I was around their age on this platform, because I remember them posting like all the other speakers. It was like Christine Kane and people who do this. And I'm like, I've never done this before. And anyways, those 3 months taking a break off social media, I didn't really even think how much it was going to impact me to have time on social media. I'm just really thinking about this one thing. And I realized in those 3 months, like, how much I grew in just intimacy with the Lord, how much I grew in my knowledge of the Lord. I read so many books, talked to so many mentors about things, just like really prioritized what I was thinking about, what I was meditating on. And those 3 months, that was like the most expedited learning of my life. Like, it was so beneficial. So I realized then, okay, whoa, like there's something to this taking time off social media. And what happened when I spoke that night, I just felt so filled with the Spirit. I just felt like what I was saying was such an overflow of what I had been studying. And I just loved that time of my life. So I hadn't gone back to that. I would always take like January off after that, or I'd take a couple weeks off here and there when I felt like I needed to study for something or be intentional about something. But then it was whenever I was pregnant with Haven, and I'd already had Honey. Honey was like 18 months, and I was like, I just feel like this is my last, couple months with just Honey before I have another one. And then that's going to get crazy because postpartum is so crazy. And I just was like, I think this year I need to take off social media. At first, I was just going to take a month. Then I was like, maybe I just need to take this whole year off. And I did it because I didn't want to miss that time of my life. Like, I think somebody said something like, we miss what's happening in our life by scrolling and looking at other people's life. And I know, like, sometimes you hear those things, but it's like when you hear it and you needed to hear it, you hear it differently. And I heard it and I was like, I'm missing, like, I don't want to miss my last little time with just Honey. And then, like, the birth and the postpartum and the sweetness of that season by looking at someone else's life right now, or even feeling the pressure to post it, and it's crazy because this time around, and like deleting it for such a long period of time, what's so interesting is how much insecurity began to rise of like, well, what if I take that much time off, and like, what if I come back and I'm like irrelevant, or like my algorithm is like all these little things that really don't matter. And even to say it sounds funny, but it's like, it grips you. Like, you don't know how it grips you until you take it away, and I would have not thought I'd put any of my identity in social media until all of a sudden I get rid of my social media. And then I had all these fears of like, just thoughts of insecurity. And I was like, what is that? Like, I didn't have that the first time I did this. Why do I have this now? Like, I'm a mom, I'm married. Like, I should not be thinking these things, but like, it's so real, it is so real. It's such a part of our culture. And so then I realized, man, I need to get rid of this to just flush all this out,
I mean, can I pause you for a sec? Because to most people, the thought of deleting social media seems crazy. Like, it's so normalized and integrated into society. Like, the fact that, like, Adam doesn't have one, and people are like, oh, you don't have social media? Like
how
as
do you
if
stay in
that's,
touch
like,
with your
strange.
friends? Like, yeah, it's odd.
Yeah.
And so I think it's, like, it surprised me that your first time wasn't... I was thinking maybe it had to do something with insecurities, and you're like, oh, my gosh, I just need a break. Because I've desired breaks, and sometimes I'll just, kind of throw it to the side, or I've deleted it at times, or we'll go on a vacation and just take a break from it. But I kind of despise it, but then I like do it. I don't know. I know there's purpose there. It's such an interesting balance.
Tool. Yeah,
it is a tool.
As a tool to reach people and share a message. But I thought that was interesting too, how you said that. I wonder if like social media isn't the same as it was, say, 10 years ago. They've been changing how it functions and how it affects your brain and becomes like addicted, so to say.
Yeah.
So it's a
Totally.
very, it's a, like I said, it's a tool, and the Lord's blessed us with the ability to share a message on that platform. But, you talked about being anchored in Christ, anchored in the truth, how it's so important to be able to stay anchored as you're navigating the social media waters, even for everybody, because everyone's facing the same, opinions of someone else. Why didn't I get the likes, or why didn't I get attention on this post or not? And like, we face that too. Like, we post something, and you're like, oh, why didn't that do well? Did I not do something correct?
I mean, I think of it more of like a game, and like I understand it's more of like algorithms, but and also now it's so driven by like you have to capture people's attention. So I'm less like, I mean, for me as an adult woman, I'm not offended if something doesn't perform or like do well. I kind of feel like it's more of like a game almost. But I think to the young girl who feels like I won't have friends if I'm not on there, like all my friends are on there, I have to be on there. I have to like send updated messages. I saw something crazy how like teenagers, the average teenager will click on their phone like 500 times in a day, in one day. And then some statistics are saying like young people are on there as much as 11 hours in the day. And, what's your head being filled with? Like, what are you seeing? Is it good? Is it beautiful? Is it right? Is it helpful? Is it pointing you towards a beautiful life? So I don't know. It's a tough one.
It's interesting. It is. And I think when you think about it, because for young people, it is more of the fear of missing out, like the fear of how could I keep up with my friends? What if, you're keeping up with trends, you're staying in communication through social media. So it's the fear of missing out. And then I think when you're older, especially if you have a platform on social media where you're using it as a job, and a lot of people are these days, it's a fear of like, oh, well, this is my income, or this is the way that I stay, people know about the things I'm doing or whatever. So then you're like, well, I can't get rid of it because of, and at the end of the day, it's like, okay, but do I believe that God actually has everything I need? Like, do I actually believe that he has me, that he sustains me, that, even if I don't have this, somehow I will manage to still have friends, even if I don't have this, somehow I will manage to be okay because he's my provider. And so if you're doing it because you fear you would lack something without it, I think you do need to question, like, is this something that I could find in God? And I feel like that was me in that time, being like, I was more afraid as an older person of the job aspect of it. And then I had to be like, but you provide for us, it's okay. And it's so cool because, I mean, there's, I think it's Psalms 127, and it talks about how you have to unless the Lord builds the house, the laborers labor in vain, eating the bread of anxious toil, but he gives his beloved sleep. And I love that psalm, and I remember thinking that throughout the social media time off of like, God, you build our house, and I'm gonna like sleep knowing that you have us, instead of being like trying to keep up with an algorithm, trying to keep up with a thing. And then guess what? That brings like anxiety, that brings forth striving, that brings forth all these different things. And I ended up staying off, I think, for 8 or 9 months. I didn't do the whole year because I kind of started feeling like, okay, I think I'm good. Like, I feel like I learned my lesson. I feel like I've had this great time off. When I went back to work is whenever I went back on socials, and I like posted this caption of like kind of just what I learned. And that caption stayed pinned for so long. I don't know if it's still pinned, but I wanted people to know, like, if they see my page, this is kind of where I'm coming from, like this is where I post from, kind of thing. And I feel like it just set my intentions. But it is an addiction that you have to break. I mean, last week, my screen time on socials on Instagram was like higher than I wanted. I was like, oh, I hate that. And I told my husband, I was like, hey, can we set like a screen time goal this week on Instagram? Like, can we both do it so we hold ourselves accountable? And it's so cool because last night we were like sharing our screen times, and each day they've gone down. And it's like breaking that addiction. You know, it's like I don't
Nice.
think about it as much today as I did yesterday, because the less you do, then the next, it's like it's weird how you don't even realize how just addicting and common it is until you kind of break it. And then it gets easier and easier as the days go on. So Christian and I are even doing that this week. So I don't, sometimes it's a stream as like, I need to delete it for a year. And sometimes it's like, hey, let's just set our screen time to 20 minutes. You know, it just, whatever feels right for you.
I love that.
Yeah, and like you're creating that space, like your first time, like to actually get in God's word and create space to pray and create space to, rely on Him. I want to share this. Philippians 4:6 says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." I think that's it's like beautiful reminder when we're feeling stressed out and we're feeling like, oh, I'm having FOMO about this and that, to take a break and just know that the Lord's hearing your prayer.
Yep.
The Lord is here for you, and He's going to get you through these times of like when you're not feeling confident or secure. You can have security in Him and come to Him in prayer and give that to Him. But making the time and space to do so is so important because, we can get so caught up in filling every little moment with something that's in our hand or in front of our face. So,
Totally.
so that's cool to make that time and space to bring that to the Lord. And that's cool you did that. I like it.
It's been good for us. We needed it. We needed a hard, like, little be like, all right, let's do this. It was so funny because the first day we set it for 30 minutes because we do Instagram, both of us, is kind of a job too. So some of it's creating content and different stuff. And the first day, like, we both hit the 30-minute, and it's like, you know, your screen time is up or whatever. And then the next day, it was like 29 minutes, and it was like, and then yesterday I had 18, and I was like, I didn't even think about getting on Instagram that much. Like, I did my thing, what I need to do, and then I was off. And it's so cool. And like, we've been so proud of ourselves. And you just feel your mind is like so much more clear, you know, like you said, when you're thinking about those things. So yeah, it's super important to set your intentions, because if you don't set your intention, you'll just doom scroll. You'll just go with the flow. You'll just go with where the clicks go. But I think it's so important to be just an intentional up front with why you do what you do, and look at what you look at and post what you post.
Well, I know our time's kind of running up, but I wanted to just hear from you. How has motherhood been for you as like a younger mom? And, you know, now you have your third on the way, and I think that's amazing. But I would love to hear like the beautiful side and maybe the real and the harder sides that you've had and what it's been like just entering into motherhood.
It's great. Gosh, I love being a mom. It is definitely my favorite thing in the world. And talk about like the place you feel confident in and just love. Just being home with our girls is the greatest. And the season of life we're in has been so, so sweet. And now having a third. So motherhood is the most beautiful gift and something that I am thankful for every day. But yes, there is definitely a hard side of it for sure. And someone asked me recently, it was kind of a funny question because it was in the context of we were at a church and we were doing the speaking event, and she was doing kind of similar things that I'm doing. And she said, okay, so we're this age and we're thinking about having kids, but we haven't, you know, because I'm doing ministry and I just don't know what that's going to look like whenever I start having kids. And so like, what was it like for you going from like single to then married to then having kids and ministry? What was the hardest stage of that? And I said, well, being single in ministry was easy. I mean, like, there's me and God, and we were just doing it, you know? And then being married was even better because then I had, like, a partner and someone to, like, pray alongside and push me and help me and show up to the events with me. And I was like, and then having kids was definitely the hardest thing as far as like continuing to do what I'm doing. But at the same time, like, it's been the greatest blessing of my life. Like, this is my favorite stage of my entire life. But if you're looking at in the context, is it hard? Well, yeah. But I was saying, like, in the first, when I first had Honey, that first postpartum time of life was one of the hardest times of life because I did not account for the fact that becoming a mom does change your whole life. Like, you don't know until you know. You don't know until you see your baby. So you can think, I'm going to do all these things. And then when you have your baby, it's like, it changes things. And so I didn't like make space to have a maternity leave. I was just like, oh no, I can finish writing that book. And then, yeah, we can do our conference in 2 months after and blah, 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 like thinking we'll be fine. Oh my gosh, it was like the biggest wake up call ever to like, what in the world were you thinking? It led me to then being like, I want to quit everything and just be home with her, and like having this whole kind of meltdown. And I just remember again, like having to recenter, like, okay, God, like, is this my time to like stay home and be with the kids, because be with my kid now and then future kids, or do you have this in the picture for me to continue doing some things that I'm doing and be a good mom? Because I don't want to just like be a mom, I want to be a great mom. So if I can do both of these things well, then show me what that looks like. But if this is gonna fall, then like I'm out, And I feel like through prayer and me and Christian having great conversations, we kind of came to the point of, we really do feel like God has allowed us to have this platform, and we feel like, the world doesn't get to see in movies or TV like great examples of like Christian families, and maybe we get to show that through just showing up and showing our lives to the world. So we really did feel confident in doing that. But that is hard sometimes, like there's some messiness in that. There's traveling with kids everywhere, and we have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old running around backstage doing crazy things. And I would have way less time to prepare for sermons than I used to.
I think it makes it way more fun though. And
but it's so much more fun.
People need to be around children. I feel like we decompartmentalize things way too much in life. And I love having, like, even if they're not having a good day and like more on the tantrum spectrum or something, like I just love having it all. Nice. Like it's real.
It's
good. Yeah,
and that's what I told her. Fun. I said it's the greatest time of my entire life, but you can't say it's not hard, but that doesn't mean it's not amazing.
Yes, I love that. And I think, I hope that, I think we're pretty intentional ourselves as like also sharing family life with the world, and I do it on purpose because I really want to inspire the next generation to look forward to motherhood and to know that it's super fun and it's a blessing and a joy and so purposeful. Like God gives us children. What's the verse on how a man with
quiver of arrows
referring to children is blessed. And yet I think so often we look at children as a burden instead, or society kind of does, and there's a lot of derogatory memes towards motherhood, and there's some challenges in it. And I found personally, like, really taking care of my health has helped me to be a better mother, because I don't rely on coffee to get through the day and survive motherhood. I eat nutritious food and I eat enough of it, and that helps me get through the day, and relying on the Lord, of course, to be my strength and my grace when I'm not perfect as a mom. But it really is a joy and a blessing. So we're cheering y'all on. And
thank you for
I will say, when we had our third, it felt kind of hard. So
thank you for the warning.
The first 4 months felt kind of hard. I was like, whoa, now we're really getting spread thin. So if you can have your mom on standby to be like, can you grab the children to go to the park or something? So you can have some moments of quiet. I recommend like trying to have that a little organized.
I receive that advice, and will definitely have my team around me ready to jump in. My team of grandparents, which I'm so thankful for, because it is so real. That is so real.
Well, thank you so much for jumping on All Things Possible. We're cheering you and Christian on. We hope to have both of you back next time. We can have a couples combo. And we're just cheering you on. Keep up the beautiful work, and most of all, enjoy motherhood. And Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Fred. Hey, right back at y'all. We're cheering y'all on and super grateful to be on the podcast. Like I told you before, it's so cool because when I had you on the podcast years ago, you told me about starting this with Adam. And so just congrats on everything. It's so needed in the world and such an encouragement. So y'all are the best and we're excited for y'all.
Thank you, Sadie. Take care. I love how intentional Sadie is about her time with her family and setting aside the things that distract us and focusing on our anchor and our faith. So if you want to dive more into what we're up to and check out the show notes, we'll drop in some links there for y'all. And be sure to leave us a review at All Things Possible. And yeah, looking forward to next time.
Aloha.